During the Warriors' dominant homestand, spirits were high. They were shooting efficiently from three and in an offensive flow, difficult to penetrate at the point of attack, and were excellent in defensive rotation. On top of all that, they didn't even have Jonathan Kuminga. But since his return, the Warriors have looked stagnant, their shooting suspect, and their offensive flow all but gone. While Steph has missed games, their 3-3 record is at least partly due to the difficulties of finding a fit for JK in lineups that thrived without him. Is Kuminga now a problem, or is he simply a scapegoat? Let's review. While it's important that Kuminga finds his rhythm as he was trying to early on against the Nuggets, there's a pretty stark difference in the way these possessions look whenever it's Kuminga that we're relying on to ISO score at the end of the shot clock. Pay attention to how stout the defense is from Spencer Jones here, but also how the Nuggets can simply stay put as the Warriors stay put in the end of the shot clock and as Aaron Gordon is walling off Steph from the rest of the offense. Getting a post-up isolation isn't necessarily bad at the end of a shot clock, as we are here, but you need much more reliable output. Kuminga simply isn't reliable in these positions with a pretty weak outside shot, a weak outside fadeaway, and especially against more stout defenders like Jones, you're facing a much more difficult matchup, even if the defender isn't particularly gifted. Now, there's a lot of reasons the Warriors lost this game as they are only down 5. And, Kuminga wasn't really the primary reason. But when you're in this type of position, let's pay attention to the factors here. We're pretty early in the shot clock. You're playing against a relatively set defense, and you're in isolation against Russell Westbrook inside the paint. In this type of setting, you really need to either generate some offense with a guaranteed bucket or a guaranteed move that can get you to the basket, or you need to swing the ball and run offense. And whenever you ignore process and instead take a somewhat ill-advised shot against Russell Westbrook, what you're creating is less fear in the defense and also more stagnation in your shooters. And that's what's happening whenever the Warriors can't get into flow as they wait for Kuminga to find his flow. Now, this is a possession where I'd like to do a short thought exercise, that being, would Moses Moody have been better in the flow of this offense? And I would argue maybe. Although Kuminga is able to take this, drive it inside, and put up some shot with a few seconds left, you can see he drives into a clogged paint. You can imagine if Moody was here, if he would either just shoot that three or find success as he's been having in driving closeouts. In the few games since Kuminga has returned, I would argue that Moses Moody has looked still better in driving closeouts, although Moody definitely hasn't shot as well in the last few games. But I think something to note here is not only is Kuminga finding his own offense, but also what are the Warriors losing by not having Moody or GP2 or Guy Santos on the floor? Now, another thing to think of with Kuminga is the three-point problem. Again, let's take a look at where we are. We have 19 seconds left on the shot clock. There's ample time to find flow, to swing the ball, to get into actions. And instead, you have a Dyson Daniels that's not really that scared of Kuminga taking this three, and you also have help coming from the inside. I think you have to ask yourself, is this the best shot that you can get? Something worth noting is that Kuminga's really never going to draw hard closeouts. He's never going to draw extra help, especially when he's spaced out. That's okay, but it's only okay if Kuminga can effectively take advantage of it. And part of that is getting respect at the three-point line, which he doesn't really get. And especially when Kuminga is posted at the corner with the ball, it's very tough for him to create advantages against wings that don't respect his three-point shooting, versus you can imagine him coming downhill with a screen, coming off a curl or some inverted ball screen from Steph or something like that. Those situations are a lot more valuable than Kuminga taking an early shot clock three where he's already a weak shooter, and when Dyson Daniels doesn't really respect that, he's not going to get any space. Again, let's pay attention to what happens with the defense here. Look at where Spencer Jones is with Moses Moody inside the paint. They are definitely more willing to instantly double Moses Moody as he gets positioning on the inside and not worry about Kuminga whatsoever. Now, again, this happens with a lot of other Warriors players like GP2, but it's also worth noting that GP2 is a much better corner three-point shooter, at least in the homestand, than Jonathan Kuminga. And whenever you have these types of possessions where Moody is drawing two, and even with this swing pass, Spencer Jones doesn't particularly run hard on this closeout, and as a result, Kuminga's just going to take an ill-advised shot. He kind of has to with this much time left on the shot clock, but this kind of soft closeout shows you that the Nuggets are not respecting his three-point shot-making ability, and also, again, that they're relying on these awkward shots at the end of the shot clock to generate offense. Now, something else that Kuminga has struggled with early on in his career, later on, and still this season is ball handling and paint penetration with his own dribble. It's always been slightly a challenge, and he's been getting picked off a lot in these middle penetration dribbles, especially on his outside hand. Watch here how it basically takes one swipe. Maybe you could call it a foul. I don't think so. But Kuminga is not only losing the ball here, but watch how he plays in transition. You have Buddy Hield targeting the ball handler, and you have Kuminga kind of drifting off into this corner, leaving Dyson Daniels a straight path to the basket. He might be concerned about Trae Young here, but when you see this shot going up, by drifting out, look what happens. Dyson Daniels just gets the putback dunk, and that's a free 2 points. It's not really great as a cherry on top for Kuminga also to not have great transition defense. But this outside dribble is leading to a lot of these transition opportunities. Here we are again, Kuminga coming outside, trying to get dribble penetration. Here comes Tyler Hero, just picks him off, and then we're straight in transition. In the 6 games since Kuminga's return, he's looked rusty with poor shot selection and negative spacing. His return has really disrupted the flow of role players like Moody and GP2, who were more willing to shoot open threes, drive closeouts, and defer. But it's still early, and Kuminga has been a situational offensive asset that usually finds success in the right matchup. And in a 10-game sprint to the playoffs, with GP2 out, the Warriors are going to need the athletic boost and wing defense that we know he can provide. Thanks for watching. Let us know if you agree.